Hi folks, Guitar Building 8. As you can see, it's a big log that we had at the mill. It's probably about 9 to 10 feet in diameter, and it's going to yield a lot of guitar tops. Here we have our frame for our guitar, and you can see the sides are bent already, and I'm going to get some rebar and some tubing and some old 2x4s pieces I cut, and I'll put the mold over it, and as you can see I draw lines onto the 2x4s, and the goal here is I'm going to be cutting that piece out so that when I push my sides against the mold, it'll hold them in there at a proper angle. So try to square them up as best as you can so that they look square to start with. And these are the bottom bout ones. Now here cutting with the saw, and be very careful when you do this sort of work because the saw is extremely dangerous. Here's the end product. The piece has been cut out. Sometimes I'll take it on a sand or one of those rollers. There we are with the roller that goes up and down just to square everything up nicely, but make sure it conforms to your sides. Keep checking it. See what I do there is I'll check to make sure the fit's good. Now we've got them all basically cut, and they're sitting in there, and you can see how the sides are going to be held in by them eventually. So the next step is I get my tube cutter, and I'm going to cut this tube that fits around the rebar that I've selected. I believe it's 3/8 rebar, and I'll drill a hole and I'll stick the tubing in one side. Notice how I go pretty much half or a little more. Then on the other side of the block I drill a hole and I put the rebar in with the wing nut. Now when you put the two pieces together, you're going to be able to adjust pressure onto the outside sides, holding them in place. Like, you don't want to be putting tons of pressure, but a fair bit. There's a bender, side bender. Any sides that aren't bent completely to shape, you finish them off with a side bender like this, applying heat. Now here's our tabletop. Notice how I've got a piece cut out at the bottom there because I want my block to sit actually into the top a bit. So when I put my sides on and I glue it all up, the block actually is going to protrude a hair. Now here's the neck and the neck block, and it's cut a little higher too, so that during the final process where I'm going to be angling the blocks for the back and the top, I'll show you. We'll have that little extra meat to work with. So now here we've got the block clamped in. You'll have your side that you've selected as your top. Those pieces will be facing down. See how it's been clamped on the outside with using wax paper so that the wood clamping won't stick on the side that I don't want it to stick to. It's just used as a backing brace to hold in the tail piece. There's the glued in tail piece with all the blocks and all that removed. You can angle it and make it smooth and nice and whatever, and then there's the finished piece there. See how the arrows on the side, it points upwards, indicating that's the top. That's going to be a flat side. Now this instrument that I have here has a 7-degree angle on one side and a 2.5-degree angle on the other side. So when I'm sanding with it, it's going to angle the end pieces. So I try to get them close to the top. Again, you can see that the top side is down. Now this is the back side where I'm shaving it so that it's flat from the area in to the neck. From the very end of the side bout to the neck, you'll want to flatten it out a bit. Be careful doing this and always watch the grain. Now here I got it in a dish, and I'm getting my final radius of the two end blocks. I put chalk on the bottom side, and then I watch and I notice if it starts to scratch at all, and then on the sides, and then if it does, then I know to stop. Now here's one method we're going to try. There's two methods. This is cutting out inserts. Once you've traced out the piece, then you cut it out of cardboard, and what you'll do is you'll get that cardboard piece, two identical ones that you've cut, and you put the first one in, pushing it down a little bit, and then so it's about an inch off the bottom. Then you have blocks that you've made, and you'll make the blocks, anywhere from 2 inches to 3 inches high, depending on the width and where they're placed. Then you glue in a second piece. The blocks are glued in, and then you put the second piece in. So what you've kind of got is showing you there how I'm just going to pop it down. Arrow pointing up, indicating that's the top, and you can see the little slot in the block where the neck goes. Here's a couple necks that I've got ready. We'll get into neck carving a little later on because it's pretty heavy duty. So anyway, those two blocks that we had being supported underneath by a ½ inch piece, then the two blocks, and then two weights just to hold it down. Now they're glued together, and it's supporting it because the pieces are extremely well cut with a razor. Now here we're going to go and we're going to start making our lines for our guitar top. You want to get an idea, roughly trace around your guitar that you've built, and it gives you a rough idea what the finished product's going to look like. Then measuring down, you'll find out where your center hole is going to be for your sound hole. Then using a brad drill bit, you drill a little hole. Now this hole's going to be drilled a certain size because I have a pin, and this pin's going to go through the centerpiece to hold down what I've cut. See the pin in the center? And then I've made that other little wood device that just allows you to rotate it. You can see the rosette right beside it. And by making passes, slow passes, get a backward spiral bit, and then it tends to not beat the wood up as much, and it tends not to leave pieces up on the top. There's the machine. You can kind of get it's a home-built little device. It just allows you to extend your laminate trimmer, is what I'm using, in and out a bit. And you'll keep you'll mark your rosette over the hole. There's a spiral bit. Once you mark your rosette over the hole, then you can get an idea of the beginning and the start, and try to cut a bit inside, and then grab the rosette, stick it over, and decide you have to go in a little more. And there you are, a bit off of each side till finally you get it. And go, do some test passes to see that you have the right depth. Here we have a more complex 3 rosettes. A trim piece, then a rosette, and then another trim piece. You find on fancier guitars, more money, the more work, right, that you just put into it. So there's the grooves cut, and you kind of test a little piece in there to see that it's going to fit. And that's all, folks. We'll move on to some more on the next show. Bye now.